Hello and welcome to coachingbasketball.co.uk. My name is John Officer and I'm going to show you the Flex Offense. This is going to be a 12 episode series and hopefully this will be exactly what you're looking for. Just to acknowledge, we're using the Basketball Playbook by jezsoft.com. It's a free piece of software. If you haven't used it already, certainly one to download and check it out. I would welcome all feedback, whether it's positive or negative. I don't really mind, but if I can use it, I'll certainly incorporate it in any of the following episodes. I'm just going to give you now an overview of the series. First of all, we have the introduction, which you're already looking at. Then we're going to get into the X's and take a look at the offense itself and any of the main teaching points. Episode 3, we're going to look at what happens when the ball goes into the post or the corner. Episode 4, we're going to take a look at the quick hitters, so you can use these out of a timeout. And then episode 5 and 6, we're going to look at how to get into the flex offense. Episode 7, then we're going to take a look at what happens when you're coming up against the flex, how to defend it, how to stop it. If you don't plan on running this offense, but you do come up against it, this is the episode for you. Episode 8, then we'll look at the counters to these stops. Episode 9, we're looking at some breakdown drills so you can really get to grips with the offense and actually teach this as your primary offense for your team. Episode 10 and 11, we'll look at some variations that are being used out there at the moment. And then Episode 12, I'm going to give you some suggestions for further reading where I found any details, and then hopefully I'll be able to answer any questions that you may have had over the series. So what's the flex? Well, it's been around since the 1970s. It is a derivative of the shuffle offense. It was brought into play by the coaching staff at Santa Clara University at that time, and one of the assistant coaches took a head coaching position at Gonzaga, and since then the flex has really exploded in its popularity. It is probably, in my opinion, one of the world's most popular offenses, so if you're certainly not planning on running it, check it out, because I would assure you you're definitely going to come up against it if you're coaching for long enough. It is a patterned or a continuity offense. It's not a motion. It can only really be used against man-to-man. I don't suggest that you attempt to use this against a zone. There are better plays, more simplistic plays that work against the zone out there to use. We'll take a look at that later on in a different series. So why use it? Well, it increases your players' IQ, which just like a motion offense, it allows your players to understand how to read screens, how to set them, how to use them properly. So, and it also shows your players when to slip screens. One of the biggest problems with a defense when they come up against a continuity offense is they'll start switching. At least the good defensive coaches will teach their players to do this. So as an offensive coach, you're going to need to know how to teach your players to slip a screen, and I'll show you how to do that in a later episode. Working on the players' timing, it also shows them when to shoot the ball. The first shot, not always the best shot. The first possible drive to the basket may not always be the best. And we'll try and show you when the best time is to do this. Finally, the spacing on the floor. It's probably the most important part about any offense, whether it is a zone or a man, is the spacing. Coach Daly came out and said he's an Olympic coach, he's won gold medals, he's won NBA championships, he's a great basketball pedigree, and he's come out and said offense is spacing and spacing is offense, simply meaning that if your team is not well spaced, it allows the defense to double team you, it allows them to sag, it allows them to create pressure situations on and off the ball. So the spacing is absolutely critical on this, and a big teaching point that you're going to have to incorporate in this offense. Well, in terms of player skills, why use it? It's one of the most interchangeable offenses. All of your players are going to have to play on the perimeter. All of your players are going to have to play in the post. This is basically going to give you the really, really versatile players. One of the keys there on the skill sets I would pick out is passing under pressure. It's really undertaught, in my opinion. It's a thing that you're going to have to come to grips with, especially running any type of continuity offense. Because they're relatively easy to scout, it's going to mean that coaches are going to come out there and pick certain areas where they're going to be able to pressure the ball at all times, and you're going to have your players ready for this to happen. From a team perspective, it gives you multiple scoring options on every pass, as any good offense should, but it also allows you as a coach more control over your players than a normal motion offense would. It's going to allow you to dictate when you want the ball to be shot, who can shoot the ball and how they shoot it. So either from the post or drive or a mid-range shot, you can limit players who don't have good shooting abilities just to score in the post, or vice versa. Finally, it gives players an amount of freedom. Although we've said it allows you as a coach to control the offense, if you are accepting of your players to make a judgment call, they see a defensive lapse, it allows them to exploit that, and because the offense is a relatively simple layout, it's easily restored to get back into the flow of the offense if that option that the players are exploring doesn't work out. From a defensive perspective, it's an extremely difficult to guard offense in a man-to-man situation. If you imagine you're a defender, you're having to fight through screens left and right, the ball's in a perpetual state of motion, the player you're guarding is almost constantly moving. It's very, very difficult, wears you down as a player. It also means then as a coach you'll be able to identify the defensive players that aren't as well conditioned and any players that maybe are slightly lazy, and you're going to be able to exploit them time and again. It also removes the defense's ability to double team. With good spacing, as we've talked about earlier on, it's going to inhibit their abilities if they start trying to sag to help on defense, and also any double teaming that may occur. Usually it will be in the post. One of the great benefits of this is it drags the bigger players, the shot blockers and the space eaters, away from the basket, which means that your better guys who can drive to the bucket really get a good opportunity of attacking the basket without fear of getting rejected. So just looking at the basic spots in this offense, you've got one is your top spot. That's what I'm going to be referring to from here on in. 2 is your corner spot, and 3 is your post spot. They're interchangeable on either side of the key. And there you also notice that the spacing on the floor 12 to 14 feet apart. I maybe on the diagram put the one spot, the top spot, slightly too close together, but I'm sure you get the gist there. It should be easy to read if a double team is occurring, who should be open to get the ball for a shot out of the post. So from the shooting perspective, these are the areas you want to start drilling for shots, layups, and any screening action. Make sure you include those in the drills. We'll show you some drills later on. Number one, you're going to look at getting shots just at the three-point line and on in and around the elbows. Number two, these are the shots that are going to occur as your player is coming off of setting a screen on the flex cut action, and you really want to teach your players to sprint out of that screen and get to the spot and turn and look for the pass. You'll get a couple of shots each game if you teach this properly and if you emphasize this spot. Finally, the number 3 spot in the post, the power layups, the post play options. This is the one that you really want to work on. Make sure that you invest in getting a foam pad of some sort so you can really beat up on your players without causing any injury, so they're used to and they expect physical contact anytime they come into that area. It really will pay dividends for you to make sure that your players, when they shoot the ball, because they're expecting a turn or expecting some kind of physical hit, that they can get the ball in the basket and without them worrying too much about getting hit. So that's the overview in the first episode, and I hope you join us for the second episode. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.